Good morning, and welcome to a show we like to call the Dallas Download, the show where we keep you in the know on what's trending, what's happening, and what's actually worth your time. You know, so you don't have to scroll for 3 hours to figure it out. I'm Kayla, and this week we've got this.
Higher payments are going to go to those with more extensive exposure.
Obviously, it ends with a nice high-five moment when we put people in cuffs and we arrest them, and that's a very satisfying, rewarding part of the process.
I mean, the setting is amazing, but it's also something that they've seen before, maybe not as broken down, but we are using the When Calls the Heart sets. There are a few locations that will be new for When Calls fans, and for people who haven't watched When Calls the Heart, you don't need to. You can still jump right in and you won't miss a beat.
All that and more right here on the Dallas Download.
Some stories don't fade with time, especially when they involve trust, friendship, and betrayal. The new 3-part Hulu docuseries, Friends Like These, The Murder of Skyler Neese, revisits the 2012 disappearance of a West Virginia teenager and the shocking truth that followed. It's a story told through social media, personal interviews, and voices closest to the case. So joining us this morning are director Claire Titley and former FBI agent and polygraph examiner Dr. Rob Ambrosini. Thank you two for being here. How are you?
Thank you. Good. Thank you.
All right, Claire, what stood out to you about this case and what made you feel like it needed to be revisited now, more than a decade later?
I think one of the things that made me that was so kind of shocking about this case when I first kind of looked at it was the fact that it's 2012 and it's quite a unique era in a way for social media, because it was that era where social media was new. It was kind of a new frontier. It was the kind of Wild West though as well. And teenagers were experimenting with it. They were just putting their entire lives online. They didn't have the hindsight that we have now about kind of, you know, what could possibly go wrong. But also it was an era where adults weren't really looking at social media. So nobody was kind of checking up on them. There were no sort of checks and balances. And that makes that generation of teenagers at that kind of time particularly unique. They're almost like the guinea pigs of social media.
And the series used Skyler's own words and social media posts that you said. How did that storytelling change the ways this story unfolds for viewers?
I think it was really important to us to try and give Skyler a voice. We didn't want her to just be a kind of a plot point in a true crime, you know, where she's just the kind of victim and has no voice. We really wanted her to have agency in telling her own story, which is harder than it sounds, you know, obviously when she's gone. But she left behind this incredible sort of archive of tweets, of digital messages, but also her own writing as well. So we worked very closely with her parents to make sure that we could just bring her voice kind of front and center, and that she could at least be a part of telling this story from the inside out. So we interview her friends as well, quite comprehensively, so that we can hear this story from the 16-year-old perspective, including Skyler herself.
And Dr. Ambrosini, you spent 24 years with the FBI. You've conducted thousands of polygraph exams. When you look at this case, what role did interviewing and behavioral analysis play in getting the truth?
Well, interviewing really played a significant role. And long before I became involved in the case, the two young girls, they were interviewed by case agents, state troopers, local police investigators. And during that process, you kind of started seeing this evolution of what really should be fact, right? You know, when things are fact, it doesn't change, right? The truth is the truth, and it's always going to be the truth. But there were indications during these interviews that really did result in kind of like this evolution of their story. And of course, when that happens, you know, the logical investigation is, why is this person changing that story, right? So this case is kind of about the behavior that's exhibited, the ideation, what's going on, what are they thinking, and how are they communicating? And that really speaks to the social media that you have here, which again was kind of in its infancy stage, if you will, compared to what it is now. So really, a lot of it did come down to the really significant interviews that the investigators were doing.
And one of the most unsettling aspects is how normal these friendships appeared on the surface. How does this case reveal about the hidden conflict, especially among teenagers?
I think what we really wanted to do with this series was kind of remind people what it's like to be 16. It's very easy to forget when you become an adult, you know, and put that behind you. But about the fact that when you are that age, you're your brain behaves in such a way that, you know, your friends become much more important than your parents, than your family. Everything is very heightened. Your reasoning is off, if you like. Your idea of consequences, you know, is very different to that of an adult's. And when you have that combined with social media that is completely I say unregulated, but unwatched by anybody else, that's where the kind of combination was kind of so dangerous, really, I think, particularly for that generation who didn't have the hindsight that we have now.
And Claire, after someone watches all 3 episodes, what do you hope stays with them?
I hope people do reflect on their own use of sort of social media, on their children, on their family as well, and remember what it's like to be that age. But also, I hope that they come away from this feeling like they know Skyler, and you know, she would have turned 30 just a few weeks ago. So that's a life that she didn't have. And she should have gone to college. She wanted to be a lawyer. You know, there's all this life that didn't happen. And I'd love for people to come away knowing and remembering Skyler as she was.
Hey, I want to thank you two for joining me today. Friends Like These, The Murder of Skyler Neese, with all 3 episodes available to stream now on Hulu. I want to thank you two for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fans of When Calls the Heart are finally getting the backstory, and it's a pretty big one. Hope Valley 1874 is now streaming, taking us to the very beginning of the town and the people who pretty much built it. We're joined by Bethany Joy Lenz and Jill Hennessy, who play 2 of the women at the center of it all. And it's great to have you two here. How are you?
Hi, so great to be here.
All right.
Thank you for having us.
No worries. I've heard a lot about this. A lot of my fans, or a lot of the people watching, are fans of the show. And for people that do already or are already fans of this world, what's different about seeing Hope Valley kind of at the way beginning?
Oh man, I think it's going to be so incredible, I think, for people to be able to see this town being built from the ground up. It's something. It's kind of like when you meet a new friend, or fall in love. The more that you find out about the person that you're in love with, you go to meet their family, you go and meet their siblings, you go sit there with their mom and go through the family photo book. Like, that's what we're giving you guys a chance to do as fans of When Calls the Heart. And we really hope to do it justice.
And Bethany, your character, Rebecca, is coming into the frontier life from pretty much Chicago life. What kind of adjustment is she dealing with early on?
Well, there are several adjustments. The first being that she's been recently widowed. So trying to figure out emotionally where to place her grief while also being in this sort of emergency situation of needing to get her daughter to a safe place. And we don't know exactly why yet. Well, we know, but you're going to find out. And she's got to get across the frontier and get her daughter into a safe place in Canada. So she doesn't have a lot of time for emotional processing. And that's kind of where Hattie Quinn comes in, Jill's character. It opens up, once Rebecca lands, Hattie becomes a source of stability and trust for Rebecca to actually start to learn how to soften and open up.
And yeah, she was saying, Jill, Hattie's already part of this community. How would you describe her role in shaping what Hope Valley becomes?
Wow. Well, she's Hattie Quinn runs the Trading Post, and she originally came out with her husband and very small girl at the beginning. And now her daughter is around 20 years old, but she recently lost her husband. So now she's running this Trading Post by herself with her daughter. And she is sort of the glue that holds the community together. And I think she runs it with a great sense of humor and incredible, direct, no nonsense kind of spirit, and has great connections with the whole community. But then Rebecca starts walking into town with her daughter, riding in a covered wagon. And I think Hattie identifies a woman who's very courageous and intelligent and is kind of haunted by something, and Hattie's not sure what is haunting Rebecca, but I think she also identifies a kindred spirit that she might become friends with. And I think Rebecca sort of opens Hattie up to how lonely she really feels, and in a lot of feelings she's been trying to suppress just so she can get through day to day, because That's what this whole show is about. It's just these characters trying to survive every single day.
Hey, horses be walking, so it's not that big. You're not too far off.
Exactly.
All right, when people start watching now, what do you think is going to be like getting them hooked and keep them coming back each and every week?
The characters. I mean, the setting is amazing, but it's also something that they've seen before, maybe not as broken down, but we are using the When Calls the Heart sets. There are a few locations that will be new for When Calls fans. And for people who haven't watched When Calls the Heart, you don't need to. You can still jump right in and you won't miss a beat. But I would say the relationships of who the characters are there's something for everyone.
Hey, I want to thank you two for joining me today. Hope Valley 1874 is streaming now on Hallmark Plus with new episodes dropping every Thursday. You can jump in anytime to catch up. Thank you two for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Reality TV families come and go, but the Robertsons somehow turned beards, duck calls, and family chaos into a cultural phenomenon. Now they're back with Duck Dynasty, The Revival, following Willie and Korie Robertson as the family grows. The kids start their own lives, and the Duck Commander legacy just keeps evolving. The new season even opens with a tribute to Phil Robertson, while the rest of the clan brings plenty of the humor that fans remember. Joining us now are Willie and Korie Robertson. Great to see you both. It's great to see the Robertson family back on TV. What made this the right time to bring everyone together again?
Well, we kind of looked up and all of our kids were back. After the show ended in 2017, we had a really busy run, so we were ready to take a little break, and then all our kids like scattered and went off to college and got married and all the things, and we looked up one day and all of our kids were here back home. We all live right there together on this little family compound, and our kids all work with us in some capacity up at Duck Commander within the warehouse, and so thought it'd be fun to kind of give the fans a little update into our life and where we are now.
When people first met your family, the kids were a lot younger. Now they're married, raising families, and starting businesses. What's it like watching the next generation step into the legacy?
Oh, man, it's been a blast. Yeah, for sure. We had, I think the main test was, do you want to be back on television? Because our kids had been on it, and so when they decided they would, we knew we didn't ruin them too bad. Well, watch them grow up, and our cast members have gotten way bigger because we have a lot more little kids and also all their spouses. And so, yeah, it's been fun watching kind of what they're going to do in life. And fortunately for us, they all ended up back here in Louisiana. And yeah, it's just been a joy. And then a lot of them have drifted to the office. And so, yeah, it's kind of, it's made for the kind of the next generation to see who's going to take it on. And, you know, I didn't take over Duck Commander until I was 30. Grew up in the business, never saw myself working here when I was 30. That's when Korie and I came back and actually started working full-time for the company. So they're right about the age to where we were, and we're going to see who's next potentially to jump into the business.
Duck Commander has always been at the center of the show. How has the business changed as the next generation gets involved?
Well, we're still right here in our Duck Commander warehouse. We're still making duck calls right here in West Monroe, Louisiana. But now the family business has expanded quite a bit. Sadie's Live Original, her whole women's ministry is there. John Luke's into coffee. Bella's actually running our store and our museum. Will and Abby are back. Spoiler alert, Will and Abby made back this season. So everybody's right there, but everyone is doing different things.
The premiere includes a tribute to Phil Robertson. What did that mean to honor him in that way?
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because the week that the actual new series started, season 1, was the week that Phil actually passed away. And so it was literally a passing of the torch from Phil and that generation down to the next. And so we just thought it'd be awesome to start out season 2 honoring him. And we see some great parts of the show on there. I mean, it's like tons of real moments. And then also we had to kind of make it Robertson, and we had some tributes to Phil, some competitions like we like to do. Just a fun way to remember him, not only for us as a family as we go through the process of healing after he's passed on, but also for all the fans who's watched him for years and have really fallen in love with Phil and what he says. And yeah, to see him start off this show, it really was a tribute to the whole effort of even doing it. I mean, like Korie says, when we did that episode, it just felt like this is why we needed to come back and do the show.
Yeah, it was really special. The most special part to me was having Miss Kay on there. We actually got to sit down with an interview for her, and she got to just reminisce about Phil and what his life meant to her. So it was really, really special. I was nervous for her, but she did so good. And I know that we'll all be glad, our family will be glad to have that moment and that legacy captured.
There's also a sweet moment with Sadie welcoming her baby girl. What's it been like watching the family grow with all these new grandkids?
Yes, you get to see, it was really full circle season because it does start off with the passing of Phil and ends with new life being born. So there was a real passing of the torch in this season. Sadie actually found out she was pregnant the week we started filming season 1. Yeah. And then Kit comes into the world at the end of season 2. So yeah, you just get a lot of real life moments. I think whenever we all sit down as a family to say, like, what do we want this show to be? One of the words that all the kids said was authentic. You know, we wanted to bring people into our lives a little bit, let them see things that we're really going through, the good and the bad, and the fun. There's a lot of fun, and we laugh a lot, but that's kind of what it's all about. It's life.
And actually, since we've gotten through filming, we have had twins now. John Luke and Mary Kate have had twins, so which is our 10th and 11th grandchild. So grandchildren. So Corey's getting old. Corey's getting old.
And your family has always mixed humor with deeper conversations about faith and life. Why do you think that resonates with so many viewers?
Yeah, I think, I think our take in life is always tried to be not take ourselves too seriously. And so when you get thrust into the spotlight and the fame, I think you really kind of find out who you are and what you want to be and what you want to promote. And I think it all for us came back to what our core was, which was faith, which is why we even did the show in the first place. Was really just to potentially get the gospel out to more people, to have a bigger platform. And so I remember talking to Phil about that, and Phil was not interested in doing the show at all when we first pitched it to him. And we talked through how it could actually get the gospel out to more people, and we certainly saw that happen. Not just through the show and through having a positive show that everybody can watch, but also through the books that have been written, the podcasts that have been done, the movies that have been made, all the things that we felt strongly about to put out there, that we had a passion for. And when you mix that with fun and humor, I think it's just a great combination, because everything is so serious now, and the world's serious and it's tough, and there's problems and politically, and everybody is at each other's throats. And so I think Duck Dynasty was a great show for people to sit down and watch and just kind of take a break and go, let me just smile and laugh and think about more positive things.
When people watch this new season, what do you hope they take away from the Robertson family today?
I think we want people to just see real life and see that, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but we do all come together at the end of the day, around the table. I think that moment of the original Duck Dynasty is still happening for our family. And so it's in this season as well, that moment where we come around the table together. We thank God for what we have. We thank God for our blessings, and we forgive whatever grievances we might have or whatever fights we might have throughout that episode or that week. But I just think that's really important. I think that's what resonated with people the first time around, to see a family that isn't perfect but that loves each other, and to see people who put faith at the center of our lives. And that's who we are. It's what we do. It's what we've continued to do. And we hope that resonates with people.
Yeah, and I hope that they see how important our family is to us, and how much we intentionally pour into our family to keep us together, to share meals together, to share in each other's joys and bursts, but also the struggles and, when you're down. And so that's the importance of family. And that's why we made the show, is actually for other families as well, so that they can have another time to get together, spark a conversation, and just really promote family. And so our family has always stayed together through it all. And so it's so important and vital. And I think this show would help, hopefully help families get a little smile, but also remember how important family actually is.
I want to thank you two for joining me today. You can catch Duck Dynasty, the revival, on A&E, with new episodes airing Saturday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. It's also streaming on the A&E app and at ANETV.com. Willie, Korie, thanks for spending a few minutes with us. Have you ever wondered how investigators actually track down predators hiding behind a screen? Online crimes against children are one of the fastest growing threats, and the work to stop them often happens quietly through digital clues, undercover conversations, and long investigations. A new investigative series gives viewers a rare look inside those operations. Detective Tony Godwin leads the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force in North Texas and has worked nearly 7,000 cases over a 30-year career. Detective Godwin joins us now. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I am great. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
So your team investigates crimes that start online but can have real consequences. What does a typical case look like from the first digital clue to the moment someone is arrested?
I mean, it really evolves rapidly. That's the one thing that I think the audience is going to notice, how quickly things happen and how quickly things escalate. But from the moment we put ourselves in this situation in an undercover capacity and the elements of the crime are met, which doesn't take long at all, like it's so fast and so quick, then it takes me and my entire team to put together all the steps necessary, legal process, and put all the affirmative links back together to figure out where this person is, who this person is, and then get ready for a takedown and hopefully a good arrest.
In the series, we see undercover operations where investigators pose as minors online. What goes into building those cases and making sure the evidence holds up in court?
I mean, people need to remember that everything that we do in an undercover capacity is based on what we know has happened to a real child. Unfortunately, children are exploited every single day online. And as a result, those reports get made and sent to us, and those are called reactive cases. So we know where they go. We know how they're talking. We know what they're doing, and we know what's happening to them. So we base everything we do in the undercover world just like that. We just put ourselves out there. Once it happens, once the communications start, which does not take long at all. And then once those elements go is when we move forward with all the legal process to get things tied together in a nice big bow on top of it, and hopefully ends with a great arrest and a successful prosecution.
And you've worked nearly 7,000 cases during your career. How has the way predators online changed over the years?
Well, we saw a big increase during the COVID time. I will tell you that. We were forcing our children online and into school environments in an online capacity. And so we were just generally pushing everybody online because of our COVID scare and the things that were going around that. And so at the end of the day, it's like a pleasure paradise playground for these predatory types who are already in these platforms and doing what they're doing. And so they had a target-rich environment in front of them. So it has increased. And so also awareness has increased over time, but I'm hopeful it's going to increase even more with the show that's come out on A&E, because we want that intentionality. We want people to know. We want to raise the awareness level of the average person who maybe has some knowledge of this, but doesn't really understand the gravity of what it is. And you're going to see this highlighted in the show. Obviously, it ends with a nice high-five moment when we put people in cuffs and we arrest them. And that's a very satisfying, rewarding part of the process.
And for parents that might be watching this at home, what are some of the warning signs that a child might be interacting with someone dangerous online?
Yeah, that's a really good question. First and foremost, I would say pay attention to the behavior changes. You know your child better than anybody. So if you have a child who's an A student that comes down to a C or a D student, then at the end of the day, you know something's going on. Maybe their friend group has changed a little bit. Maybe they're normally very outgoing, but all of a sudden they're really introverted. That could be a red flag that something's going on. Secondly, I would say know how to access your kid's device. Know the passcodes. Know the platforms they go to. Know that some of the platforms have their own passcodes that might be different from the code to get into the phone. Educate yourself about what they're doing and how they're doing it. Being intentional over time, not a one-time deal. This isn't I get to go look one time and then back out of it. If you need to use monitoring software to help with that, then do that. I'm a big proponent of that. But you need to be very intentional. You need to lean in. You need to have constructive, age-appropriate conversations with your kiddo so that at the end of the day, if something does happen, that child's going to come to you or a trusted adult and say, hey, I'm in a pickle, I've done something, or this is what's happened, I need some help. And you already have a path of what's going to happen to get that child back on a good restorative path.
And the show gives viewers a behind-the-scenes look at your task force and the work that you do every day. What do you hope people understand better after watching these investigations play out?
I mean, take into account, there's a little bit of shock and a little bit of awe. Most people are going to notice because after the first show came out last week, my phone almost melted with all these comments and questions about how graphic these predators are and how quickly things escalate. And that is reality. And so I think they're going to take away that. but I think they're also going to have this awareness level that has just increased exponentially. I think they're going to learn from some takeaways that are going to be highlighted on the show, that what they can do and what if something has happened, what if something's already happened. There's a lot of resources that are available to them. And I think they're going to enjoy the entertainment side of it, which is the arrest or the takedown. Those are all really great moments. And I'm really happy to be a part of the program with A&E.
Detective Godwin, I want to thank you for joining me today. You can watch Predator Hunters Thursdays on A&E, and episodes are also available to stream on the A&E app and ANETV.com. Detective Tony Godwin, I really want to thank you for joining us today.
I really appreciate your time. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audience. Thank you so much.
A lot of people have used weed killer at home and never thought twice about it. Now, a major settlement is moving forward, and it could affect people even years after that exposure. Joining us today is Dr. Aaron D. Holland, counsel for future claimants with Holland Law Firm. Welcome, Eric. How are you?
Thank you, Kayla. Good morning.
So the settlement covers claims for up to 21 years. How is it set up to protect people who may not get sick until much later?
Well, it's a very important feature of the settlement. What it means is for people who aren't diagnosed now, if they get diagnosed in the future, they're able to come into the system at that time. They don't have to take any action right now, and it gives them that ability to get a pathway to compensation down the road.
And who qualifies here, and why might everyday people who used weed killer at home be included?
People who qualify are those who've been exposed to Roundup, a product containing glyphosate, and that can include people using it at home. It can include landscapers. It can include farmers. It is a huge swath of people in the United States who've used Roundup products. These weed killers have been pervasive throughout America, and those are the people that are going to qualify.
So what factors could make someone eligible for a higher payment under the settlement?
Higher payments are going to go to those with more extensive exposure. For instance, farmers, landscapers, and the like. It's going to go to younger people who get diagnosed at younger ages. It's also going to go to people with more serious medical conditions, people who get cancer and have to get things like stem cell transplants and more aggressive medical treatment. Those are the people that are going to be compensated at the higher levels of the compensation program.
And how can someone find out about their eligibility and legal rights?
There is a court-ordered website. Once we receive preliminary approval from the court ordered that all of the information be put online, and that information is available to the public 24/7, 365. That website is weedkillerclass.com. And there's also a toll-free number for those who'd like to call and talk to somebody about it.
And just one more time, just so I can have it all in one place, remind us where people can go for more information.
Yeah, weedkillerclass.com or the toll-free number 888-403-8201. And remember, those are court-ordered websites and phone numbers, not lawyer numbers.
Eric Holland, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You bet. Thank you, Kayla.
And that's going to do it for this week's episode of The Dallas Download. We are so excited to be here, and we can't wait to do it again with you next week. Catch us right here on KDAF, Sundays at 5:30 a.m. And if you just can't get enough of the show, I know I can't, head to DallasDownload.com and follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all at The Dallas Download. Thanks for watching, and until next time, that was a show we like to call The Dallas Download.